Enjoy your time here and find peace in the stories we tell. If you liked the story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day the Xiao family was thrown into prison. The February wind still carried a bit of chill. I sat quietly by the window, staring blankly at the girl with bright features in the bronze mirror, unable to recover from the grief for a moment. Zoe, my maid, carried a food box and ran in hurriedly. "Miss, this is bad." Her face was panic-stricken, pouring out all the news she had just heard like pouring beans. This servant just passed by the front courtyard and saw that all the masters of the Xiao family were taken away by soldiers. It seems they committed some heinous crime. Do you think we should draw a clear line and return to Yunzhou? This servant is afraid of implicating you. Hearing these words, I finally felt a sense of reality about being alive again. In my previous life, Zoe had also advised me like this, but I refused to stand by and watch, stubbornly throwing myself into the muddy waters of the Xiao family. It was only because before she passed away, my mother was uneasy and told me to take a marriage contract to the capital, firstly to seek some protection, and secondly to search for my father whose identity was unknown. Mother thought Madame Xiao was a close friend from her youth, so whether the marriage succeeded or not, she would look after the daughter of an old friend to some extent. Moreover, my mother once had grace upon Madame Xiao. It was just that Madame Lotus did not know, and I did not know at that time either, that the nature of ingratitude is hereditary. Madame Xiao naturally did not want her eldest son with a bright future to marry an orphan, but she also could not bear to part with my massive dowry. She let me stay temporarily in a desolate small courtyard of the Xiao family, occasionally asking for a little bit, and always saying she would help me ask around for news of my father. When I was young, I was naive and foolish, unable to see through the calculations of others, so I always felt grateful to the Xiao clan. Later, when the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. When the capital magistrate, Master Xiao, was falsely accused of colluding with the enemy and selling out the country, the whole family was thrown into prison. People who were once in laws avoided them like the plague. It was I who ran around everywhere, using money to bribe those above and below so they could avoid physical suffering. It was also I who went through untold hardships to find evidence, and rolling on the bed of nails, and beating the drum of grievance to clear the name of the Xiao family. I had only met Vincent Xiao twice across a screen, so I could not say I had deep feelings for him. It was just that at that time, the law stipulated that unrelated people could not arbitrarily beat the drum of grievance. I had to use the identity of Vincent's betrothed fiancé to act. He, however, thought I would stop at nothing and marry him, so he hated me to the bone. The pain of rolling on the bed of nails seeped deep into the marrow. Even though a long time has passed, I still cannot forget the scene of my whole body and clothes soaked in fresh blood that year. Sharp needles pierced through flesh, painful enough to make one bite their tongue. From then on, I suffered from blood deficiency disease. If Vincent Xiao did not like me, he could have just said so directly. I would have returned to Yunzhou, absolutely not clinging on, refusing to let go. However, for the sake of reputation, he married me, then blamed me for the death of the person in his heart. He declared I was a meddlesome person, making me live in unrest and die with my eyes open. Fortunately, there is still a chance to do it again. In this life, I give up useless kindness. I have to see how Vincent manages to escape from prison. Thinking of this, I took out the silver notes and instructed the kind Zoe. She was right. We must quickly leave the Xiao family. This place is no longer habitable. Go find and buy a slightly better courtyard. Yes. Zoe's eyes lit up and she said resentfully. This servant said so already. Miss should have left this tattered place long ago. The roof in this courtyard has several holes, even beggars outside would not care to live here. I pursed my lips and smiled without saying anything. Although the words were a bit exaggerated, it could be seen that Madame Xiao really did not regard me as anything, only viewing me as a distant relative coming to sponge off them. If she really wanted to fulfill the marriage contract, how could she treat me so coldly? The Xiao family was indeed in chaos, and most of the servants were packing their luggage to flee. Zoe rented a horse carriage, and while we two masters and servants were loading luggage, an uninvited guest suddenly arrived. The girl wore a plain white outfit, her figure graceful, her autumn, water eyes stagnant as if she wanted to speak but stopped. It was the cousin Sylvia Shen whom Vincent missed day and night. Sister Luna, even you want to leave? I was stunned. For a moment, temporarily unable to remember how she died. What are you saying, Miss Shen? I asked her. Could it be that you are also a criminal colluding with the enemy and selling out the country? A look of surprise appeared on Sylvia's beautiful face. Of course not. Sister Luna, do not speak nonsense. Since you are not, then what are you staying here for? I dusted off my skirt, not wanting to say much to her, turned around, stepped on the stool. Sylvia was in a hurry again. She stepped forward and pulled my sleeve. You and Cousin Vincent have a marriage contract. How can you stand by and watch? I sneered. The Xiao family has never used the 6 rights to ask for my hand in marriage, so there is no marriage contract. Moreover, Madame Xiao is from the Shen family. Even the Shen family does not care, so it is even less the turn of me, a guest staying here, to meddle in other people's business, right? I emphasized the word guest, then turned to the outside of the door and shouted loudly, scolding with extreme gloating. Had I known earlier that the Xiao family was this kind of disloyal and unrighteous people, I would rather live in a ruined temple by the bridgehead than step foot into the door of the Xiao family. Telling me to exert effort so she can take the credit. How big is your face? Sylvia's face turned green then white, unable to say a word of rebuttal, and could only unwillingly watch me leave. The newly bought courtyard was in alley number 6, East Street. This place was very close to the Imperial Academy. Although land prices were high, the Golden Guards patrolled the surroundings, making it much safer than other places. Madame Lotus left me an extremely not small dowry. Perhaps it would take several lifetimes to spend it all. Watching Zhou busy back and forth in the new courtyard, like a little bee, my cold heart could not help but soften a little. In the previous life, I wronged myself and also wronged her. When I was seriously ill, Vincent refused to invite a doctor to examine me, only saying coldly, "Sylvie died because of you. It is good for you to go down early to atone for your sins." It was Zoe who risked danger to go to the medical hall to get medicine, helping me drag out my feeble existence for a while longer. But such a kind Zoe was eventually beaten to death by Vincent's men right in front of me, her body a bloody mess. Miss. Her clear voice pulled me back to my train of thought. Zoe cheerfully pointed to a painting in the study and said, "The person on there looks so much like you, miss." I looked up, astonished to the point of being speechless. The painting was framed with bamboo and hung on the wall. The woman on the paper, with beautiful eyes and brows, was exactly my appearance at this moment. But why is there a painting of me here? Go find out who lived here before. Zoe obeyed. While investigating the origin of the painting, I also did not forget to pay attention to the situation of the Xiao family. The Xiao family members relied on Miranda Xiao being a princess consort, so when they first entered the prison, they still did not distinguish the situation and their attitude was extremely arrogant. Master Xiao even wanted a mirror to calm his sideburns. However, without my help in this life, they soon had to taste suffering. Daily meals were stale food, water was foul-smelling. Just speaking a little louder, the salt-soaked whip of the prison guard would strike without mercy. It is good to have food. Do you really think you are still high and mighty nobles? I heard Vincent was whipped once, and that very night he developed a high fever, his mouth constantly babbling, "I am the Prime Minister of the court," and similar words. Others thought he was delirious from fever, but my heart sank, because in my previous life when I passed away, Vincent had indeed climbed to the position of Prime Minister. Soon after, Sylvia came to the door again. She probably realized my lack of patience, so she went straight to the point as soon as she arrived. "Sister Luna, I came to pass a message. Cousin Aunt said she has some news about your father, inviting you to the prison for a discussion." I originally did not want to pay attention to her, but searching for my father had become an obsession. Not only for myself but also because Madame Lotus left with regrets. After pondering for a moment, I agreed. I will go visit Madame Xiao. Sylvia smiled slightly upon hearing this. She stroked the gold hairpin on her head, put on a hat to cover her face, and left, seemingly having fulfilled a certain important wish. It was strange. The clothes she wore were old and faded, so where did that gold hairpin with the novel design come from? I tapped my finger on the wooden table, hiding my doubts in my heart, stood up, and walked towards the Dali temple. As the saying goes, little ghosts are hard to deal with. Being a prison guard at the Dali temple means you have some ability, but as long as you give money, they will not make things too difficult. You are only allowed to stop for half an incense stick of time. Little lady, do not break the rules. He reminded me, then looked at my empty sleeves, viewing me as someone visiting relatives. Did you not bring any food or clothes? This does not incur a separate fee. I waved my hand, my face righteous. No need. For people like the Xiao family who collude with the enemy and sell out the country, feeding them is not as good as saving it for rations for the border soldiers. Hearing this, the prison guard threw me an admiring look. In the dark dungeon, I followed him step by step forward. From a distance, I heard that voice familiar to the bone. Vincent, are you really sure Luna Zhang can help us escape from danger? Mother. Just rest assured. As long as she is willing to go beat the drum of grievance, the Xiao family will be safe and sound. But Mother heard that beating the drum of grievance requires rolling on a bed of nails, which is a life, or death matter. How could she agree? Madame Xiao hesitated. I stopped walking, the corners of my mouth curling into a sarcastic smile. Turns out they are not unaware of my sacrifice. It is just that the wound is not on them, so they do not feel the pain. Through the wall, Vincent's tone became even colder. Luna loves me deeply, she will not refuse. At most, I will just promise to marry her. Heaven have mercy, wronging my son. The prison guard beside me slapped his thigh hard. Damn it, such a poisonous heart. I do not know which unlucky girl is blind. I clasped my hands, my voice as small as a mosquito buzz. Unfortunately, that unlucky person is this humble one. Under the dim light, the prison guard's eyes widened. He kicked a rat running across his foot. Ah, is the moon in the middle of the day today really round? Vincent did not expect me to appear at this time. He leaned against the green stone wall, his pale and gaunt face showing. A morbid flush, just one glance, and I knew that bastard Vincent had also been reborn. Cough cough. He was stunned for a moment, then covered his face and called out, Luna. I held back the nausea wanting to surge up and nodded slightly as a response. To be honest, the Xiao family members all have good-looking faces, but after not washing for days, the dead bugs mixed in their black hair had faded their beauty by 30%. Let us just leave a little space for imagination. The sound of iron chains clanking rang out in the dungeon. Master Xiao grabbed the cell bars, asking me with a gloomy face, Niece Luna, did you bring a mirror and comb? He had always been pretentious, making tea only using spring water, clothes only wearing silk, spending my dowry freely, but never saying a fair word for me. The cheapest charcoal was burning in the cell, the smoke choking people. That was what Madame Xiao had exchanged her last jade hairpin for. In the bone, chilling cold prison, she was afraid her only son could not bear it and would return to the West, and Master Xiao, who caused the disaster, only cared about his messy sideburns. Just like me, I only cared about when the blade would pierce through the necks of the Xiao family. Madame Xiao grabbed my wrist, softly recounting the deep friendship between her and my mother back in the day. I thought her hands were so cold, just like in the bitter winter of my previous life. She forced me to serve the sick day and night, pricking blood into medicine, cold like that. I did not have the patience to listen to her ramble about useless things. Auntie, you called me here to discuss what matter. Is the news about my father regarding which aspect? Madame Xiao's words suddenly stopped, and a look of untimely disgust appeared on that benevolent face. Did your mother not teach you? When adults are speaking, one should not. Vincent interrupted her. Mother, let me talk to Luna. He could not help but cough twice again, then looked at me with deep affection. Inviting you here is to discuss our marriage. You are a good girl. I should not have delayed you, but I cannot bear to see you marry someone else. There is no one easier to deceive than you. If you do not disdain it, wait for me to get out of prison. I will use an 8-bearer sedan chair to marry you, okay? So you must try to save me out. It is just that there is one thing to clarify with you first. My cousin has sacrificed a lot for me. I want to take her as a concubine. At that time, you absolutely must not make things difficult for her. Beating the drum of grievance should not be delayed. If you found the evidence, go early. Listening to his matter-of-fact tone, I laughed out loud. I took out that thin marriage contract from my bosom, tore it in half and threw it in his face. Each sound heavy, each word sharp. Who said I do not disdain it? I disdain it to death. Which good family's daughter would marry a disloyal and unrighteous person who colludes with the enemy and sells out the country? Does Luna look like someone who collects sewage? A gentleman has his principles of conduct. If I were you, I would have hanged myself from the beam long ago to end everything and still keep a bit of reputation. The prison guard beside me clapped his hands in praise. That is right, such thick skin. Vincent never thought such harsh words would come out of my mouth. He clutched his prison clothes tightly, his face green, trying to suppress the anger in his eyes. Do you not have any feelings left for me? Not even a shred. Madame Xiao intended to scold back but was silenced by Master Xiao covering her mouth. I dusted off my sleeves. The half-incense stick of time is almost up. If there is nothing else, I will leave first. Vincent closed his eyes slightly, finally willing to speak up to call me back. Do you not want to know about your father either? Look, he always knows how to grasp my weakness. In the previous life, it was 2 children, and in this life, what is it? I stopped, turned my head to look at him, and nodded honestly. Of course I want to. As long as you help me find a letter in my father's study and give it to the vice minister of the Dali temple. He raised 4 fingers to the sky. If you do not believe me, I can swear. If there are lies, I will be struck by lightning. Outside the window, suddenly, a heavy rain poured down, lightning flashed, and thunder roared, making one's hair stand on end. That letter was the key evidence in this case of colluding with the enemy and treason. Inside was the signature of the real criminal. The mediocre Master Xiao was just a scapegoat. I waved my hand at him, walking to a deserted corner. The unhideable stench radiated from Vincent's flesh. Do you know the letter you spoke of? I tilted my head so he could hear this cruel sentence clearly. On the day I returned, I burned it all. Because of a piece of news the Xiao family luckily survives, then father, I would rather consider you dead. After speaking, I clapped my hands to call the prison guard. Let us go. Behind that handsome face, a look of horror now appeared. Vincent stared straight ahead and slumped onto the ground. In everyone's anxious eyes, he muttered 2 words. It is finished. Later, according to prison guard Liang, my friend despite the age gap, Master Vincent was unwilling to give up and painted the exact same pie for Sylvia, intending for her to roll on the bed of nails and beat the drum of grievance. But Sylvia was not someone easy to deal with. Not sure if it was due to a guilty conscience or some other reason, after using an excuse to extort all the money, she never appeared in front of the Xiao family again. No one stood up to defend the Xiao family, so the charges were quickly finalized. The males of the main lineage were sentenced to be beheaded in autumn, and the females were sent to the penal servitude department. On the day of execution, I specially dragged Zoe to watch. The common people naturally like to watch the excitement. I squeezed into the crowd scattering copper coins while saying, "Please make way, make way." Thus, everyone was busy bending down to pick up money. On the execution ground, the Xiao family members had their heads covered with black cloth, kneeling in rows on the platform. Were they innocent? No. The disciples of the Xiao clan had mostly done things like exploiting the common people and seizing women. That year, when I looked at the account books, I discovered tens of thousands of acres of private land with unknown origins. Rice grown with hard work, the tenant farmers only enjoyed 1 part, while the remaining 9 parts fed this huge Xiao family. I suggested to my mother-in-law to cut back a little, but was scolded by her, saying a merchant's daughter does not know how to manage the family and rule the country, unworthy of the high table. The sky was dark with clouds, and drizzling rain fell. The executioner swung his hand and chopped down. Round objects rolled on the ground. Rainwater mixed with fresh blood, flowing into a winding stream like the hatred in my heart pouring out. I intentionally looked for Vincent's position, opening my eyes wide to look. However, when that object rolled not far from my feet, my eyebrows suddenly twitched violently. It was not him. This person was not Vincent. Being husband and wife for many years, I knew every part of his body clearly. There should be a blue birthmark on the back of Vincent's neck. I wore a hat to cover my face, letting the raindrops patter on my shoulders. My cloth shoes were soaked and sticking to my feet, my heart heavy. "Miss." Beside my ear, a clear voice sounded from unknown when. Someone stuffed an oil paper umbrella into my arms. "Go home early, do not catch a cold." I did not see his face clearly, only seeing a bright red cinnabar mole on that wrist with distinct bones. Not long after he ran off, Zoe opened an umbrella from inside the shop, stomping her feet in anger. "Miss, why are you in the rain again?" "Silly Zoe," I sighed. "Your miss is thinking. Rainwater can make one's mind sober." Vincent is a very vengeful person, and is also considered intelligent like a venomous snake hiding in the shadows. Moreover, he also has the experience of the previous life. Not seeing him die with my own eyes, my heart is not at peace. I must think carefully about who saved him from prison. Zoe could not stop me, so she had to go back to prepare more ginger soup to dispel the cold. Surprisingly, when we returned to the courtyard, a strange guest was standing in front of the door. The man's figure was tall, wearing the uniform of a scholar from the Imperial Academy. His phoenix eyes slanted upwards slightly, his gaze bright. He raised his hand hesitatingly, seemingly unsure whether to knock or not. Zoe put her hands on her hips and stepped forward, shouting, "Which rascal dares to act wildly in front of your grandmother's door?" His face turned red, and he clasped hands, the cinnabar mole on his wrist sparkling. "Apologies, apologies. Henry Chen did not intend to disturb. I am a tenant. I was in a hurry to go study abroad and carelessly left behind a painting when I moved out. May I ask if the little lady has seen it? That painting is extremely important to me. I am willing to use money to buy it back." I lifted the veil of my hat, smiling softly at him, and handed over the oil, paper umbrella in my hand. "I do not have the painting, but I do have an umbrella. Do you want it?" Henry stood frozen on the spot, his eyes blank, his ears turning bright red, and stammered out a sentence. Lady Zhang. Regarding Henry, I still had a vague impression. After all, that face was truly very beautiful. That year, on the way from Yunzhou to the capital, a great flood occurred. I ordered the boatman to fish him out of the water and arranged for him to stay on my boat. At that time, I saved many people, and he was just one of them. I did not expect to meet him again. Even less did I expect this guy to dare to secretly paint a portrait of me. The rain gradually got heavier, so I invited him into the courtyard to take shelter under the eaves. "Ginger soup is here." The little girl brought a bowl of hot ginger soup and placed it in front of me, standing aside and glaring at Henry. The old woman in the courtyard was sweeping fallen leaves, and the cooking skills of the newly bought cook were not bad. I took a sip of the sweet brown sugar ginger soup and casually pushed the pink porcelain teapot on the table towards him. "Gentleman Chen, please help yourself. Many thanks to Lady Zhang for forgiving my offense." Henry poured himself a cup of cold tea, explaining awkwardly, "You have the grace of saving my life. After parting ways in Tongzhou, in order to search for your whereabouts, I secretly painted your portrait." If his face was not so red when he said this, and his buttocks were not constantly shifting like he was sitting on a pile of fire, perhaps I would have believed it. However, sometimes the truth is not that important. What is important is that he is a scholar of the Imperial Academy with the title of a provincial graduate. Now I do not want to form good karma anymore. I only want to harvest the fruit directly. "Has Gentleman Chen been well these past few years?" Henry nodded. "Thanks to the good deed the lady did that day, I was able to participate in the provincial exam." Then he entered the Imperial Academy to study. He asked again, "What about you? Have you found the whereabouts of your uncle?" I shook my head, looking sad. That damn Vincent, in the previous life, he definitely knew something. Thinking of this, my killing intent became even stronger. Hateful, truly hateful that the information my father left behind was too little. I only knew his surname was Wen, and he was a merchant in the capital. I paused for a moment, raising my hand to gesture. "Mother said he is about this tall and looks even more beautiful than the top courtesan." The young man looked at my gesture, his beautiful phoenix eyes tinged with a faint smile. He was not as implicit as Vincent but revealed his white teeth, patting the table softly. "What a coincidence, I have a fellow student surnamed Wen whose demeanor is extraordinary. Moreover, his family has been in business for many years. Maybe he really is related to your uncle." I did not expect such a pleasant surprise. Suppressing my excitement, I asked Henry for the name of this fellow student. Henry said this person had a cold personality, only focused on reading sage books, never socialized with outsiders, and was rarely seen outside the Imperial Academy. And outsiders without a permit found it very difficult to enter the Imperial Academy. "Lady, rest assured, I will definitely try my best to help you ask around." I do not know when the rain stopped. The banana tree in the garden swayed, accumulating a puddle of water. The sky was already brightening, and the sound of the watchman beating the gong rang out outside. I did not respond to his promise, only smiled and said, "It is getting late, Gentleman Chen should go back quickly." Reality had taught me a lesson. Believing in men's words, sooner or later one will suffer. From that day on, I started to get busy. Officials have the way of officials, and rats have the way of rats. In the capital, there was a place specializing in selling information called the 100 Knowledge Scholar. Coincidentally, on their day off, the 100 Knowledge Scholar initially did not want to accept this business. I angrily threw down 1,000 taels of gold, becoming their distinguished guest. I bought 3 pieces of news. The whereabouts of my father could not be investigated in a short while. Vincent had stolen the day to change the sun inside the Dali temple, so their hands dared not reach in. I had to take a step back, asking about Sylvia's residence and the way to enter the Imperial Academy. Vincent would certainly not be able to resist looking for Sylvia. After all, this was the person in his heart whom he had missed for 2 lifetimes. Seeing my generous spending, they very generously created an identity for me. Female cook at the Imperial Academy. The students reported a lot, saying the cook in the cafeteria was not human, so the academic director asked us to find a female cook with a clean background. And as for whether Henry's appearance was a coincidence or arranged, I had not touched cooking for a long time. In my previous life, to shorten the emotional distance with my newly husband, I once specially invited an imperial chef to the manor to teach me for a period. However, Vincent criticized my gestures as vulgar and my hands as not soft. He criticized me, but he never criticized the food I cooked. The gatekeeper led me into the Imperial Academy cafeteria. There were very few people inside. In the kitchen, there was only an old chef, aged and losing all his teeth, who was said to be the father of the chancellor, with very strong connections. There was also a nanny picking vegetables, who asked while picking, "What are we eating today?" The old chef rested his chin on his hand, dozing off, and clicked his tongue saying, "Orange stewed chicken, bitter melon stuffed with bananas, which one do you think is delicious?" I saw that this was not good. Nanny Tao saw me as if seeing a savior. "Oh my, is this the new female cook?" She laughed and pushed me to the stove, shouting loudly, "Old Wen, you rest today, let this girl try her hand." The old chef had no objection. His eyes, full of the vicissitudes of life, were slightly stunned when he saw my face, as if seeing an acquaintance through me. "All right, I will help you test it." I rolled up my sleeves, my movements agile as I stir-fried vegetables. Soon, a rich aroma wafted out. The students swarmed in, their faces filled with surprise. Henry was also among them, his face shocked as he stared blankly at me. I put my index finger to my lips and scooped a full spoonful of food for him. "Shh, this is a bribe for you." "Many thanks." Henry was tall. He lowered his head to get closer to me, whispering carefully. The third person standing behind me, a female student wearing a purple scholar's robe, that was the person I was looking for. Female student. I only noticed then that in the vast expanse of green, there was a small prominent patch of purple. They tied their black hair high, holding books and reciting, full of vitality, completely different from the women in the backyards I had met. Nanny Tao beside me noticed my gaze and explained enthusiastically. Thanks to Empress Celestine's enlightenment, she specially allowed girls with intelligence to also enter school to read books and participate in the imperial examination to become officials. Although they will not be let to assume important positions, it is also a path of escape. I was very surprised. I lived 2 lifetimes but never heard of this. Henry did not lie to me. That fellow student surnamed Wen indeed had extraordinary demeanor. Her eyebrows and eyes were picturesque, her temperament cold. Even Miranda, who could rely on her beauty to become a princess consort, was not equal to 30% of her. At the same time, it also meant she was hard to approach. I only saw her walk to the window, pursing her lips and asking softly, "Lady, can you give me another spoonful of rice?" Thus, relying on my excellent cooking skills, I successfully conquered the stomachs of many students, thereby building friendships. Helen is a beautiful jade. In front of acquaintances, Helen Wen was actually a talkative girl, talking endlessly about astronomy and physics, a huge difference. "Luna, luckily you came. My grandfather has bad eyes and often mistakes sugar for salt. His cooking skills are not something ordinary people can endure." Hearing that I was searching for the whereabouts of my biological father, she regretfully informed me that in the previous generation of the Wen family, only her father, Chancellor Oliver Wen, was a male. She was the youngest daughter. Actually, Chancellor Oliver's age was no longer young and did not match my father's age, but I felt close to her as soon as I met her. The one in charge of business was her aunt. Could it be? I stopped her bold speculation, retreating in disappointment. Fortunately, it was not without harvest. Father was not found, but I gained a bosom friend. On my day off, I led a group of martial arts masters, aggressively going to find Sylvia. Madame Xiao's family background was not high. The Shen family in Tongzhou was a farming and scholar family that had declined long ago. Otherwise, they would not have sent Sylvia to the Xiao manor, hoping she could climb up to a good marriage. Sylvia's original goal was this cousin Vincent. However, when the Xiao family got into trouble, she swept away all the money and immediately cleared her relationship. When I found her, she was facing the pursuit of a group of men in black, trembling and hiding in a wine jar. Scared pale, perhaps not wanting to cause more trouble, the assassins in black chose to retreat decisively upon seeing our group enter. The girl in the jar had wet long hair, her whole body emitting the smell of alcohol, her clothes semi-transparent. I disgustedly handed her an outer robe. Put it on, stand up and talk. The night was cold. Sylvia did not stand on ceremony with me, draping the robe over herself and raising her head to take a deep breath. I know what you came for, she said. Sister Luna, you are looking for cousin, right? I did not want to waste time guessing, so I pulled out a dagger and placed it against her neck, my voice like clamped ice. Tell me where he is. Under the moonlight, Sylvia smiled knowingly. You definitely would not expect it. The formerly high and mighty noble son is now wagging his tail begging for pity from Princess Bella. I shook in horror. Vincent really dared to be so reckless. The girl snorted coldly. He has fallen so low as to become a male concubine, yet he still wanted me to be his mistress. I also have my own pursuits. Rather than that, it is better to work for Princess Bella. I heard that Highness has never had any taboos. No wonder he survived in those circumstances. It turned out he relied on selling his body. Does the third prince's consort truly not care about Vincent at all? In my impression, Miranda valued this younger brother very much. Do you not know? Sylvia paused. The Emperor was extremely furious upon hearing this, and specially ordered Miranda and Prince Tristan to divorce and go to a Taoist temple to cultivate. Before she left, she recommended Princess Bella to meet cousin once. In a trance, I seemed to see a butterfly on the peach blossom tree in the courtyard flapping its wings, causing the future to change unpredictably. In the memory of my previous life, Miranda relied on the support of her clan to very gloriously sit on that position of mother of the nation. Now she is not even a princess consort. Immediately after, I remembered a major event that I once heard people mention with regret at a banquet. If Crown Prince Arthur had not died unexpectedly that year, perhaps the court would have been much better, and there would have been no need to cede several cities. The current emperor has many descendants, but he especially values the eldest legitimate son born to Empress Celestine, having chosen the heir early on. However, he lived too long. An emperor living too long is sometimes not a good thing. For the crown prince, on one hand, he has to face the suspicion of his aging father, and on the other hand, he has to suppress the grown-up younger brothers below. On a certain ordinary night, the crown prince suddenly fell into a coma and passed away 7 days later, the white-haired sending off the black-haired. The emperor cried ceaselessly, finally letting Prince Tristan, who looked the most normal, benefit. Calculating carefully, the time the crown prince had the accident seemed to be exactly around this period. Prince Tristan cannot be allowed to ascend the throne, otherwise, this brother-in-law Vincent will rely on him to turn the tables. But what can I do? In a moment, countless thoughts flashed through my mind. Finally, I put down the knife resting on Sylvia's neck and asked the last question. The matter of the Xiao family colluding with the enemy and treason is related to you, right? Not only that, you were once Prince Tristan's person. Sylvia, who was always confident and calm, suddenly changed her expression, raising the gold hairpin on her head intending to stab. The martial arts masters protecting me immediately subdued her. I looked at her hateful eyes and smiled. Do not be so anxious. I do not intend to report you, at least not for the time being. What do you want me to do? She lowered her brows and asked. I said decisively. Kill Vincent. Winter arrived late, white light flashed, and the sky unknowingly began to flutter with goose feather snow. I had just dropped the wrapped wontons into the pot when I saw Nanny Tao running in hurriedly. She pulled my hand and pushed me outside. Quick, stop being busy. A noble has arrived outside, specifically naming to find you. That old woman sees she does not come with good intentions. You hurry home and hide. Today the old chef did not come. My heart sank, thinking of a certain possibility. Sure enough, walking out, I saw a group of palace maids and eunuchs blocking the exit ahead. On the exquisite and magnificent carriage sat a large woman. She lifted the thin golden silk curtain, her tone mocking. Little lady, where are you going? After speaking, she dissatisfiedly patted the young man kneeling below. Use a bit more strength. It was Princess Bella. She was arrogant and domineering from early on. I vaguely felt a hateful gaze like thorns stabbing my back. I lowered my brows and stepped forward to bow. I do not know what important matter the noble has to find this servant for. The surroundings were silent for a moment. Princess Bella seemed to see something extremely terrifying, her teeth trembling. Raise your head for this palace. I looked up, meeting the eyes of the person wearing a mask and massaging Princess Bella's legs. Looking at the figure, it was indeed Vincent. For a moment, I did not know whether to worry for myself first or laugh at him first, until Princess Bella screamed in a shrill voice. Someone, quickly scratch this slut's face to shreds, beat her to death, and feed her to the dogs. I remained unmoved, saying in a deep voice, Your Highness has not stated the crime yet wants to beat and kill me. I am afraid it does not accord with the law. Are you not afraid of being impeached by the censors? What is there to say to lowly commoners like you? The woman laughed coldly, the jade, inlaid gold hairpin in her hair trembling slightly. The law. This palace is the law. Vincent massaged her legs while adding, This person does not know etiquette. Your Highness is merely punishing the crime of disrespect. At most, it will just be a fine of 1 or 2 years' salary. Hearing this, Princess Bella felt even more justified. What are you slaves still standing there for? Palace servants, hear my order. They raised wooden sticks intending to beat me. At the critical moment, a cold shout came from afar. Stop! Nanny Tao, who had gone to report the news, followed behind Helen, mixed in the crowd of angry students. Helen wore a purple robe, her black hair tied high behind her back, her exquisite eyebrows and eyes becoming even colder. She said unceremoniously, Second Highness, please go back. The Imperial Academy is an important place for learning. Unrelated people are not allowed to act wildly here. Princess Bella angrily kicked Vincent, the wine cup in the carriage falling with a clatter. Junior of the Wen family, you also dare to speak to this palace like that? If Chancellor Oliver were here, this palace might still give the Wen family some face. What do you count as? Helen did not bat an eye. My words are my father's will. Henry protected me, his jaw tight, saying angrily, If the Son of Heaven breaks the law, he is guilty of the same crime as the common people. We all have titles. If the second princess insists on beating a weak girl to death, then I will use my own blood to splash the court hall, begging His Majesty for a fair word. Correct, we absolutely will not stand by and watch. The other students clamored in agreement. The snow on their shoulders could not hide their anger. Green robes and purple robes formed a scene. They might differ in political views and academic factions, but they had all eaten the food I cooked. Ice flowers condensed on my eyelashes, my eye sockets slightly moist, not knowing if the ice melted or if I was shedding tears. Vincent looked at all this, hating it immensely. Your Highness, do not listen to the sophistry of these rotten scholars. But Princess Bella hesitated. In the moment she hesitated, 2 figures walked into the gate of the Imperial Academy. One was a handsome middle-aged man, the other was the old chef. Cough cough, Your Highness, if you have done enough, then go back. The old chef clasped his hands behind his back, sighing softly. Uncle Wen. Princess Bella's face changed. She unwillingly glanced at me but could only lead her entourage to leave. Fine then. For today's matter, this palace gives face to Uncle. At this moment, the matter of the old chef being the Chancellor's father was completely confirmed. I clasped my hands and bowed to thank everyone. Many thanks to everyone for lending a helping hand today. All right, everyone go back to review your lessons. Chancellor Oliver was a gentle person. He waved to the students, not scolding them at all. Henry looked at me worriedly, not moving. Helen was the same. She saw the crowd disperse and asked softly, Father, has the Crown Prince woken up yet? Chancellor Oliver said nothing, only shaking his head sadly. The cold wind blew, bringing a chill. Right at this moment, the tip of my nose smelled a floral scent familiar to the bone. My mind went blank for a moment. I hurriedly stepped forward, pulling Chancellor Oliver's sleeve to sniff. Hey, little Lady Zhang, what are you doing? Chancellor Oliver was terrified. Getting closer, he suddenly froze. Why do I find little Lady Zhang look so familiar? A bit like, he pulled the old chef. Father, come look quickly. The old chef lifted his eyelids, his beard bristling with anger. Unfilial son, your father is old and has bad eyes. I ignored their words, releasing the sleeve with a serious face. Excuse me for offending. But did Chancellor Oliver just come from the East Palace? Yes. Why do you ask this? I thought for a moment and decided to tell the truth. I roughly know why His Highness the Crown Prince is in a coma. As soon as I finished speaking, I saw Henry looking at me with bright eyes, gathering both his sleeves and offering them. Lady Zhang, I also have these sleeves. In the 8th year of marrying Vincent, I fell ill in bed, my body getting weaker by the day. Taking the medicine that Zoe risked danger to get did not show any improvement. At that time, I could only lean against the head of the bed, looking through the window at that pot of butterfly orchids, seemingly seeing the outside world. I thought I was exhausted from managing household affairs, or that the illness was due to the blood deficiency left from the year of rolling on the bed of nails. Until just before my death, Vincent threw the divorce letter in my face and generously answered my doubts. You caused Sylvia and me to be separated. Even in death, do not dream of entering the Xiao family tomb. You know, there is a strange poison in the world that can make people die without knowing when. Butterfly orchids seem harmless. The fragrance released when a candle burns will turn into a deadly poison. The scent of the butterfly orchid alone is not poisonous, nor is the candle. But when the two combine, they can silently take a person's life. I escaped from the memory and told the whole story of the butterfly orchids. Everyone showed looks of horror, their expressions gradually becoming serious. His Highness the Crown Prince has always liked these flowers and plants. Not long ago at his birthday banquet, Prince Tristan gave him a rare plant. Prince Tristan is the third prince born of the same mother as Princess Bella. Chancellor Oliver said without hesitation. This is a matter of great importance. We also cannot be sure that it is the butterfly orchid. If it really is so, a storm of blood in the palace is probably unavoidable. Helen turned her head to look at me. Father, how about letting Luna disguise herself as a female doctor and follow Father into the East Palace to investigate a little? I nodded in agreement. As long as the Crown Prince is alive, does Vincent still want to be the Emperor's uncle-in-law? Dream on. The Crown Prince had been in a coma for nearly 5 days. There should be no delay. I entrusted the cooking of wontons to the old chef and got on the carriage with Chancellor Oliver. The old chef was very happy, casually throwing a few tangerine peels into the soup pot. Not having shown off his skills for so many days, this old man's skills were getting rusty. He patted the ladle against his waistband with a clang. I offer my condolences to the students of the Imperial Academy today. In the carriage, Helen secretly stuck a chestnut cake into my hand, winking and saying, "Eat something to pad your stomach." Many thanks. Why so polite? If you can save the Crown Prince, my whole family will have to thank you. Seeing my blank face, the girl held her fist and coughed lightly. The Crown Prince is my cousin. You must have heard of Empress Celestine, right? That is my aunt, so do you understand now? Ah, indeed this background is not small, no wonder Princess Bella had to be afraid. Twilight descended, contrasting sharply with the red walls and green tiles below. The closer to the East Palace, the more golden guards patrolled, and martial law was everywhere. Chancellor Oliver Wen presented his token and waited for the inspection to finish before being let through. Inside the palace, lanterns were layered upon layers, with a few branches of plum blossoms jutting out, seemingly reflecting everyone's worries. The Crown Prince was placed in the sleeping hall, with heavy troops guarding outside. Under the eaves, colorful flowers were planted, but in the middle of winter, they were partially covered by frost and snow. Walking closer, one could still hear insects chirping, while inside the hall, the smell of bitter medicine lingered. A beautiful, dignified woman was closing her eyes, praying for her husband's safety. Greetings to your Highness the Crown Princess. Across the screen, I followed Chancellor Oliver forward to bow. Quickly rise. It is so late. Does cousin have important business here? The Crown Princess opened her eyes asking. The flickering candlelight illuminated the dark circles and fatigue under her eyes. Your Highness, can you dismiss all the servants? The Crown Princess nodded slightly to the female official beside her. The palace servants retreated like a receding tide, leaving only loyal confidants. Due to the difference between men and women, Helen conveyed my intention to the Crown Princess on my behalf. Hearing it concerned the critically ill Crown Prince, this lady's eyes immediately became sharp. She looked towards me, assessing me carefully for a while. All right, this palace gives you this authority. Turn this sleeping hall upside down to search once. I breathed a sigh of relief. From the moment I entered the door, I had been observing. The scent of the butterfly orchid does not diffuse far. To accurately poison the Crown Prince, the flower plant would not be too far away. However, I led the servants to search around but did not find the butterfly orchid in the sleeping hall. Could it be I guessed wrong? But how to explain the scent on Chancellor Oliver? Just as the Crown Princess showed a hint of impatience, I grit my teeth, walked quickly to the bed where the Crown Prince lay, and pulled open the silk curtains. What do you want to do? The strong scent of butterfly orchid hit my face. Without waiting for everyone to react, I pointed to the sachet hanging on the bedpost, my voice clear. Reporting to your Highness, this commoner has found it. Helen looked at me, took down the sachet, and sure enough, inside were pale purple dried butterfly orchid petals. I quickly blew out all the surrounding candles. It was hard enough to come back to life once. I cannot be poisoned again. Men. The crown princess tightly gripped the embroidered handkerchief in her hand, suddenly standing up, unconcealable anger in her eyes. Go report this matter to Father Emperor, then invite the imperial physicians to treat him. It was clearly winter, but my back was unknowingly soaked with sweat, leaving only the luck of having made the right choice. Even Chancellor Oliver broke into a sweat for me. Little lady, you are so bold. Are you not afraid of being treated as an assassin and arrested immediately? I smiled bitterly. It was out of helplessness. Just thinking that Vincent could become the Emperor's uncle-in-law made my whole body uncomfortable. The lanterns under the corridor shone all night. The imperial physicians were not mediocre. Previously, they could not act because the illness was unclear. After having a clue, that very night they brewed several doses of black medicine to pour into the crown prince's mouth, along with acupuncture and bloodletting. As dawn just broke, it was not until the hour of the rabbit that the crown prince on the sickbed finally woke up slowly. I curiously stuck my head out to look, suddenly hearing a cry of mother. As soon as the crown prince woke up, he suddenly stumbled off the bed, squeezed through the crowd, and threw himself at my legs, hugging my thigh. Like a child, crying and sniffling, he called out, "You finally came to visit your son. Your son missed you so much." Ah, everyone. Just as I was thinking if the crown prince was sick to the point of stupidity, a cry full of sorrow also came from the main gate. Arthur. It was the old emperor coming to visit the crown prince. The white, bearded and white-haired emperor, his eyes sharp as an eagle's but now brimming with tears, was supported by eunuchs walking in step by step. My heart trembled slightly, yet strangely I did not feel fear but rather a natural sense of intimacy rose up. Chancellor Oliver suddenly slapped his head. It is Aunt. Little Lady Jiang looks extremely like the painting of Aunt. No, it is her. The old emperor shook his head and sighed. Arthur would not have such gentle eyes. She has long since given up on we. How could she return? The crown prince had also recovered his senses by this time. Turns out you are not from the underworld. I awkwardly took 2 steps back. How about you stand up first? He lowered his head to look at his knees, silent. He is the crown prince tonight. The matter of Prince Tristan bribing the inner court attendant to harm the crown prince spread quickly through the palace. Perhaps confident that this secret would not be discovered, inside that attendant's room were kept quite a few dried flowers made from butterfly orchids, and he was writing a letter to claim credit from his master. And this rare plant was bought by Prince Tristan's consort at the Taoist temple from a merchant from the western regions. After investigating the whole story clearly, the emperor was extremely furious. He immediately demoted Prince Tristan to a commoner and granted a cup of poisonous wine to the Taoist temple. Princess Bella tried hard to beg for mercy, but was also scolded by the thunderously angry old emperor pointing at her face. Do not think we do not know the foolish things you have done before. We are old, but not senile yet. After saying that, he took back her fiefdom. Princess Bella cried miserably. Before leaving, she even fiercely glared at me. I lowered my brows, pretending this matter had nothing to do with me. Luna. The old emperor quickly changed his expression, pointing to the piece of fiefdom just taken back, asking lovingly, "Grandfather Emperor will grant you this rich land of Jiangnan, okay?" I helplessly reminded him, "The secret envoy you sent to Yunzhou to investigate has not returned yet. In case I am not the crown prince's daughter, would I not be violating a taboo?" The old emperor said nothing, only opening a scroll for me to see. The paper had turned slightly yellow. The portrait of the woman on it was lifelike, resembling me by 80 or 90%. The biggest difference was that between my eyebrows, I lacked a red mole. This is Empress Celestine. His fingers trembled as he stroked the scroll, his voice full of longing. She is also the wife we loved most. This face of yours is the best proof of the crown prince's bloodline. I waited 2 days in the palace. The letter from the secret envoy's pigeon finally reached the hands of the old emperor and the crown prince. Turns out you are the daughter of Madame Lotus. The crown prince looked at the 2 drops of blood merging in the bowl, his eyes complex. I bowed, speaking word by word the final obsession of my mother. Your Highness the crown prince, this commoner wants to ask on behalf of mother, why did you never return? And why did news suddenly disappear completely? Was it you who wronged mother and child? Crown Prince Arthur said. That year, I traveled incognito to investigate the conditions of the people in Yunzhou, met and fell in love with your mother. But your mother was the only daughter in the family, and wanted to find a husband to marry into her family, refusing to go to the capital with me. I also could not abandon everything to live long-term in Yunzhou. Later, the crown prince's identity was exposed. Corrupt officials risked everything to pursue and kill him. He fell into the river and hit his head, losing his memory of the time in Yunzhou. It took half a year of treatment to recover. By the time I sent people to find your mother, she could not be found anymore. Because your mother was like me, both using fake names. Where is the sincerity between people? The old emperor was very happy. Good, good, good. We said Luna is of royal lineage. Empress Celestine has a different meaning to both father and son. As for me, thanks to the face resembling my grandmother, plus my contribution to saving his life, I received a generous reward. Knowing the story, the crown princess was not angry at all but even suggested adopting me as a righteous daughter. I refused. My father can replace my mother, but no one else can. The crown princess was not angry either, smiling and telling me to often come to the East Palace to play with my younger sisters. I returned to the courtyard in a daze, seeing Zoe also looking panic-stricken. She pounced on me, grabbing my sleeve and crying loudly. Miss, you have become a commandery princess. Zoe thought you did not need this servant anymore. Boo-hoo, silly Zoe. I patted her head to comfort her as before. Whether I am a commandery princess or not, the affection between you and me will not change. Unless you have a sweetheart, I will grant you a generous dowry. After all, adding the rewards from grandfather emperor and father crown prince, my treasury is getting bigger and bigger. Cannot spend it all, truly cannot spend it all. That night I had a dream. I dreamed that after I died in my previous life, Vincent quickly married a new wife. But before he could be smug for long, someone brought out the secret decree of the retired emperor, executing him with a silken cord. There was an official in Tongzhou who came from afar to collect my body and bury it. It turns out that in the previous life, grandfather emperor had also recognized my identity, so he spared the Xiao family. It was just that at that time, father crown prince had already passed away. He was afraid exposing my identity would cause disaster, so he dared not publicly reward me. He could only indirectly reuse Vincent so that I could be treated well. No wonder Vincent's rebirth was only a step slower than mine. It turned out he did not live long either. To highlight my status, grandfather emperor specially ordered a banquet. The old officials present were all shocked when they saw me. Princess Bella sat below drinking wine, occasionally beating and scolding the male favorites below across a screen. I walked over, just in time to see Vincent with a face of humiliation wiping her shoes. Aunt is truly in good spirits. What are you doing here? Princess Bella looked at me with a gloomy face, slamming the wine cup down. Luna, you dare to be here. Vincent was completely unaware. He looked up at my figure, gritting his teeth. Someone of lowly status like you dares to sneak into the palace banquet. Second Highness, quickly have someone beat her to death. I have not even spoken yet. Princess Bella gave him a slap. Shut your mouth. People who do not know might think you are still that high and mighty first young Master Xiao. I sneered, pouring the entire pot of wine over his head. A lowly male favorite dares to speak to this commandery princess like that. Vincent's pupils constricted as he stood up. Only then did he realize the magnificent palace dress and jade crown on me were the attire of the protagonist of the banquet. How is this possible? He turned pale with fright, daring not to believe this truth. For Vincent, killing the person and destroying the heart, nothing was better than this. He was still suffering humiliation at Princess Bella's place as a male concubine, waiting for a day to turn the tables. As a result, after I left the Xiao family, I lived freely and openly, even becoming a noble of the heavenly family. I did not bother to look at him anymore but turned to Princess Bella, who looked annoyed. Aunt, your niece wants to ask you for a male favorite. She wanted to refuse without thinking. You do not want to. Then niece will have to tell grandfather emperor about you going to the Imperial Academy, wanting to beat me to death. I wonder if you have any fiefdoms left to be fined. Princess Bella, the eyes on her round face narrowed. She flicked her sleeves and heavily uttered cruel words. Do not dream of asking for just one. Is this palace that kind of stingy person? Good niece, both of these male favorites are gifted to you. Vincent was in despair. With his personality, he naturally could not sit still and wait for death. I order people to secretly guard him. Sure enough, taking advantage of when Princess Bella went to change clothes, Vincent stabbed and wounded her with a knife, then secretly crawled through a dog hole to escape from the palace. The hidden guard asked me if he needed to be stopped. I shook my head. Letting him die so easily, how could it resolve the hatred in my heart? In the middle of the night, Vincent ran and ran but had nowhere to go, so he had to go find Sylvia. Sylvia, having received my order, had been waiting for him for a long time. Sylvie, come with me. He looked wretched, grabbing the girl's wrist and speaking urgently. I am willing to marry you as my wife. In this life, there is only one person in my heart. Sylvia broke his fingers off one by one. Taking advantage of his inattention, she stabbed the dagger hidden in her sleeve into his heart. Sorry cousin, I am a spy sent from an enemy country. I have harmed your whole family, how dare I marry you? Sister Luna said only if you die can I survive, so please go on your way first. The lantern under the eaves swayed in the wind. Vincent looked at her in disbelief. The broken words along with fresh blood dyed the snow on the ground red. Cough cough, turns out I was wrong, Luna. In that moment, he seemed to remember that in the previous life, when snow filled the sky, I had also died miserably like this. Outside the door I witnessed everything, my heart left with only peace after exacting great vengeance. I cannot be generous, nor can I let everything go. Those who failed me, those who deceived me, all deserve to die to hell. Epilogue. While Grandfather Emperor was still alive, I was the most favored commandery princess. After Father Crown Prince ascended the throne I became the most favored princess. There was even a group of Imperial Academy students who, after entering the court, secretly wanted to push me to become a female emperor. However, I had given up long ago. Ridiculous, I was only reborn, I did not change my brain. The two royal princesses born to the Crown Princess, now the Empress, were each full of schemes, their wisdom could be called unparalleled. Competing with them. I am afraid this life I struggled to regain will have to end early again. It is better to just let go. I said it straight out. No matter who ascends the throne, would they not have to call me royal sister? As long as this face remains, I am the mascot of the imperial palace. As for Sylvia, I indeed did not kill her, because I sent her to the penal servitude department to reunite with the female relatives of the Xiao family. I just do not know how Madame Xiao will react when she sees the niece who killed her son. And I did not remarry. There is only Lord Henry, who has become the prefect of Tongzhou, frequently recommending himself to be my male favorite. In the 10th year of the Jingyuan era, I accidentally became pregnant and gave birth to a pair of dragon and phoenix twins. Henry ran in hurriedly, running until his official hat fell off. As soon as he entered the room, he grabbed my hand, asking worriedly, Luna, are you alright? Is there anywhere uncomfortable? I flashed a bright smile, asking him cheerfully, has Helen become the Prime Minister yet? The young man nodded helplessly. Why do you only ask about her and not me? Do you still need to ask? I narrowed my eyes. If you agree, then marry into the royal family. Outside the window, clusters of hydrangeas hung down the wall. The spring scenery was truly beautiful. The red sun slanted to the west, the golden crow set, just like my new life, brilliant and colorful. Luna's journey is a powerful anthem of resilience, proving that we possess the power to rewrite our destiny by refusing to settle for mistreatment. Her courage to sever toxic ties paved the way for her royal heritage and a tender, patient love with Henry. Ultimately, this story teaches us that the most profound victory isn't just defeating enemies, but living a magnificent life surrounded by those who truly treasure us. It is a beautiful reminder that self-love is the foundation of all lasting happiness. The story ends here for now. If it touched your heart or left you thinking, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and share Raccoon Tale to help more stories come to life. See you in the next tale.